Well, hello again everyone, it's Henry here, and thank you so much for watching my channel. I haven't posted much now for 3 or 4 months. I had an operation in October, but I've had a number of side effects and difficulties since then, which left me in some pain. Hopefully none of it is long term, but it hasn't been until the beginning of April I started to feel a little better. And this time of year, my obligations with my job keep me pretty busy, so I haven't had a lot of time to post videos and so forth. I'm here in the RV. One of the things I sometimes do if I have marking to do or whatever, just for fun, I'll bring the RV home for a weekend and simply camp in my driveway. And this gives me sort of a little vacation sort of feel to a weekend, which is otherwise just a weekend. And so that's what I'm doing this week. I did this at Easter too. We were going to go away at Easter, but I wasn't up to it, and we stayed home, and I think that was certainly the right thing to do, and I got a lot of marking done and so on. And I know that's pretty mundane, but I think sometimes doing that makes one feel better because you're not getting behind in your work and so on. This year we're planning, we're not sure just yet with the long weekend, but we're going to have a trip or two in June. The RV has to go into service for oil, and we have cracked windshields, which we got last fall. We had to wait till the weather warmed up before we can fix that. Also I've got a code on my transmission right now which suggests it's an overspeed, a rear speed sensor. We had this issue before. The RV drives fine, but so we're not sure if it's just a corroded wire or maybe the sensors had it or whatever. But they fixed it before and it seemed to work, and the RV drives fine. So there's a few little things along those lines. We got the generator back. So that's a long story there. So you see some of my posts right now in the last, back in the winter time, and I got the generator system working just fine, and then suddenly it wouldn't start, and I didn't know why. And so I finally took it into a company, and basically what happened was the fuel I had used was too old and had separated, and the ethanol had somehow damaged the carburetor, and I had to bring a brand new carburetor. And of course, because it was the fuel, then it's not covered by warranty, so whatever I saved on the generator originally is pretty much blown on that deal. So that was pretty disappointing. However, these guys seem to know their business, and so what I'm doing now is I'm using only new gas cans, and I'm using premium gas, which reduces the ethanol, and I'm going to use it within a month. And if there's any gas left in the cans, put in the car and get some more. So the generator doesn't have any gas in it right now. The smaller generator that I had before, I got that cleaned out and it's running again, which is nice. And I'm using that one for the Algonquin trip, and we'll use it around here a bit and so forth. It's only 1,000 watts, so it's not enough to run what we want on the RV. So, but anyhow, I think we've got the idea here of how this is all going to go down the road. I had a concern about putting the bicycles on the back of the generator mount for 2 reasons. One, it hangs back a ways and my bike's fairly heavy. And the second thing was that the covering of the license plate had become aware that that's a problem if you have bikes and stuff on the last plate on your vehicle. Apparently they don't worry so much about the plates in between, but if the plate, the last plate you have is covered, that can cause you trouble. So what I decided to do, I looked around, and there's a double hitch that I got. So you put that in. The bottom receiver can hold 10,000 pounds, which is more than enough to do the Jeep, and the top receiver can handle 400, which I can put the other bike mount I have that I like better anyway. I can put that on and then mount the bike on that, and put the cover on and everything else. And that then puts the bike between the RV and the Jeep, and that's going to be, I think, a much better arrangement. So we're certainly going to be doing that. And then the other thing, of course, was how do we get the power from the the back of the Jeep where the generator is up to the RV, and I'm taking advantage of my ladder. So I run cords underneath, zip tied them in place here, there, and the other place, and then run it up the side of the ladder, so then you can use the steps of the ladder to hold the cord up in the air, and then that'll bring it across to the Jeep's roof rack or whatever without getting it on the paint of the hood and so on. And then of course it comes to the back and down. So I haven't configured that yet. It's a long, the unit gets quite big when you do that, so I have to do that over at Walmart because our driveway isn't long enough. But that's sort of how we see us going down the road. So we want to test all that before we head out. So the run we're looking at in early July is to go down to Halifax. This is, we leave on the Saturday, I'm thinking the 27th or the 28th. I'm forgetting exactly how that all plays together. But it's a Saturday, the last Saturday in June, we'll head out, and the objective that day is to leave by noon or so and go to the Walmart in Kingston and stay there. And maybe we'll get there in good time. We can get a chicken or something. Of course, the generator is available to us if we need it. And then the next day is a long day, 700 and something kilometers. It's 1,835 one way from our home to Porter's Lake Campground Provincial Park outside of Halifax. So that's sort of the run. So I think the second day we're going from Kingston to Edmundston, New Brunswick, Walmart there. So that's another run. Now thankfully it's all auto routes and so on. When we came by in 2004, of course, the junction at between Quebec and New Brunswick was all torn up. We're hoping, of course, after 15 years that should be better. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We did that in 2013, so 6 years. But even still, we should hope that's better. And because that gave us some trouble with our gray tank. We're also going to try to fix the gray tank as well, maybe on the long weekend or something. And we want to see if we can get access to it. It's very difficult to get to underneath the floor of the bedroom. We can pull up the fresh water tank covers and stuff and see what's there, and you get access to part of it. And if we can find where the leak is coming out, then we can of course spray it with the elastometric materials and hopefully seal it up again, which would be wonderful if we could do that. So we're going to see what we can do there. And then after we get back on the 14th, we have a week here, and then I'm going to go up to Restowel Provincial Park, on the south shore of Lake Nipissing. It's not quite, it's a little south of that anyhow, for a week, just to explore. I haven't been there before, and there's lots of canoeing and certainly roads that are suitable for bike riding, and there's some hiking trails and so on. So that sounds like a good place for 7 or 8 days, whatever it's going to be. And Frank may come up for a bit of that, so that'd be nice. And then that's it for the exploring part for now. And then we have the weekend stuff as well. Now I'm hoping that we can do some backcountry tripping with canoe paddling in the northeastern part of Algonquin Park. There's a few other ideas I have too. In the weekdays in August, if for 3 or 4 days before we have to go away on the weekend for family reunions and so on. So that'd be very nice too. So we'll have to see just how that plays out. But that's sort of the arithmetic going forward, and I haven't really planned it. We also are tempted to go to Myrtle Beach at Christmas time. Now we have to watch our finances a little bit and make sure that we're going to stay into the plan here. And I had to spend a bit of money, and you always do, of course, the brakes on the car, new tires for this, and things like that. And April's been pretty hectic, so probably been in the restaurants a little more and so on. So, but I'm hoping to get that under control so that we can still hit our mark and still have the trip to Myrtle Beach at Christmas, which is something I've been wanting to do for, oh gosh, 3 or 4 years now. I really enjoy that type of thing. If the health is there for both of us, it should be really nice. We did the Outer Banks in 2014-15, and that was very interesting. But the Outer Banks is pretty limiting. It's a very narrow strip, and you're 30 miles out to sea. So you can do the Wright Brothers thing, you can do the lighthouse thing, and all that. But we were there for 10 or 11 days, whatever it was, and there were days the wind just blew like something else, and there were many days it was 4 or 5 degrees. So it was a little rough climate-wise. So we're thinking of going Myrtle Beach, which is about the same amount of distance, but now you're back on the land, and hopefully not so so windy and so forth and so on. And the campsites, of course, in South Carolina doesn't have any gambling. Then along the coast you have these big, huge RV parks that are right on the sea. And that was something we really enjoyed at the Outer Banks. So we're going to see if we can do that again at Christmas. And so that's sort of the primary aims of where we're headed this year and what has to happen. I'm probably going to get my mechanic to cut out the old generator. I'm afraid as time goes by that the fuel lines will fail, or the old wires that were on the starter will fail. I had a problem there last time I had it up 2 weeks ago. I think the fuel pump went on and it shouldn't have been on, so it was a short. So I turned the switch and pulled some wires off and pulled some plugs out of the circuit board to disable the logic, which is fine. But I think also, that generator probably weighs 100 pounds or more. So I'm thinking maybe if we just have them cut it out, and even if we don't use the compartment, at least it's less weight, which is always a good thing, because it's always something you want to carry with the RV. And we have to add the extra weight of the, well, I guess the generator's not really on the RV when we generally do it, but still. So that's something that I get Roger to do maybe, but that shouldn't be too bad, because that's kind of a removal thing, so it's generally less effort. Hopefully you can do that in an hour or so. But everything else is, other than fixing things when they break or something, we're pretty much set, I hope. But something else that happened tonight that was just pretty cool. We have a television here in the center of the RV, and I put the plugs here at the dinner table so that you could run through the computer up to the TV. And when I first did it, when I had Windows 7 on my computer, I could run it as extended monitor and do something on the computer while I'm showing a movie on the other one, and it was great. And then when I got Windows 10, it wouldn't do it anymore. The screen said it couldn't handle that format, and I thought, oh well. So I was tempted to, this screen's probably 8 or 9 years old now, or whatever it is. So I was tempted to maybe consider if I get a deal on something and maybe replace it. But now I had a new update there or whatever, and now suddenly it works great. So whatever happened, I don't know, but the good people at Microsoft obviously have fixed something, because I sure didn't. And now I'm able to use it the way I had in the past, so that's really nice to see too. So anyhow, I'm here driveway surfing, and we have probably marked some papers and things like that this weekend, but I think the next video I'm probably going to make is one that'll show all of the updates and changes I've made to the RV since we bought it in 2012 at Christmas time. Now obviously we've made some fixes anytime that something breaks, and I don't going to count those things, but things that I've added to the RV, I've done some videos on those, and I'll point that out. But just to kind of summarize, some other people have done that. It's very, very interesting to see what they do. Finally, I think maybe I'll put my 2 cents in here. I've seen a number of people who are RVing, at least extended RVing or full-time RVing, that are, of course, moving in the direction of lithium batteries and solar and all the rest of it. And gosh, I just love the technology of it, and there's a part of me that would just love to do that. The challenge living here in Ontario and or in the eastern United States, where we would typically go, is that boondocking is almost impossible. There's almost no sites at all, except Walmart or something like that. and so to spend thousands of dollars on such a system, it's just hard to justify. However, so I've sort of approached it like this. I have 2 6-volt golf cart batteries, lead acid, in this thing right now that are working fine and work well with the new inverter and all the rest. When they are done, whenever that happens, it's been 2 years, I guess, but they've been working fine. I'm thinking of getting one lithium battery, 100 amp hour, which would be the same amount of current, handling capability as the other ones. And then, of course, if I do that, I'll have to get a different charge controller as well, because it needs the higher voltage for lithium. But I emailed Balaborn, and one of the things that's cool, if you know, if with lead acid, you have to have, they have to be the same age, and they have to bounce them and all that stuff. So if you blow one, you got to get two, and what have you. So I asked him, I said, listen, if I buy one now, can I buy one in 2 years and put them together? And he said, oh, sure you can. That doesn't matter at all. So that was really nice to hear, because if I get one now, and maybe in time we get a second one, but even that, we're not sitting on a whole bunch of battery all that often. We just aren't. Probably the most aggressive battery draw we would have is when we run the refrigerator on gas and electric. That's 30 amps. So with a 100 amp battery, you're looking at maybe 3 hours ish. So there you are at a, you know, at a mall or something like that, and you pull in with the RV, and you switch it to battery because it's a warm day. Try to park it with it out of the sun, and then you go. But if it's, you know, 30 C outside, and you know the fridge can't take that, it's going to be 15 if you turn it off. It's just not going to hold it. So, but then of course you come back to the RV and you start the engine, and down the road you go, and then you have the batteries will charge up again, of course, and then there's always the opportunity to use the inverter, or sorry, the generator. Now I'm not so sure I want to run the generator when we're not there. You know, it's going to attract attention and all the rest of it. I just don't know if that's appropriate. But I mean, if it's a really hot night and we need to run it so we can sleep, then we'll do that. But that's different when you're in the vehicle. Anyhow, so I think right now, short of maybe getting one lithium battery for the RV ultimately to build on the future, seems like something I could do, and then go from there. The thing with solar in Ontario and so forth, again, is like I said, we're not boondocking all that much, so you're almost always plugging in somewhere in some way. And because I put the auxiliary power in, I can do two different 15 amp circuits, and I can run an AC off of one of those and do other things with the other one. So it's pretty good. So there's, you know, until we get off the grid per se, and we have a dependable place where we can go where we want to go, and again, we're not going to go if it's still $45 Canadian. If we're going to camp, dry camp, I don't expect to pay in too much at all. And then the RV can make that work, and if we can find places like that that are dependable for us, then certainly we could start looking at moving in that direction. But it would come at a piece at a time. But I would certainly look forward to that. That'd be great. But finding legitimate boondocking type situations that are, you know, something where you're not, so that you're, you know, if you tow the Jeep and so forth, so you get there and you stay there, but then you get, well, let's go into town for this, let's go see that, let's go something else, let's ride the bike here, let's do, you know, I just don't want to sit in someone's hayfield, you know, and so that has to still develop for me. So those are some things that we're still trying to figure out what to do, more or less. I think the other thing too is, you know, if nothing changes, I'm probably about 3 years away from retiring, and want to certainly do some winter RVing and whatever else, and family stuff and so on. And the challenge that we face is simply this: is that we really like our RV. It's a 35-foot Class A gas unit, and when it's, you know, it's maintained and so forth, it seems to be going down the road very well. But the problem is that in 3 or 4 years, you know, it's another 3 or 4 years old, and there's that much more burden on all the appliances inside, most of which are original. And then just to go down for 3 or 4 months, you know, using all of those equipments much more so than you normally would, and given the age, it's going to fail. And so this is my fear, is that this is not the, you know, we're probably going to have to make a change, and it's just a question of making the money work to do that. So we'll have to see. But like I say, as everyone tells me, that's 3 years away, so we'll worry about that then. We'll keep an eye on things right now, of course. So anyhow, so that's sort of where I've been and where I'm headed. I'm still very much watching the channel and watching what's been going on, and I'm hoping do the I got a couple other videos, and then I got this one I told you about here too. So hopefully into June you'll see 2 or 3 or 4 come up, and that'll hopefully be interesting for some people. And then I'm going to we'll chronicle the trip. Certainly try and make some good video for the Restoule trip in July, as well as the trip down east. And again, as I've said before, and then I think I'll let you go, is that I see other people who've kind of made this sort of their job. I don't want to do that. I'm going to, at a risk of having no subscribers and so on. Okay, I accept, but I'm going to make video and take pictures of where I go and what I'm doing, and I may do the odd diary entry on a trip, which is fine, but I'm not. The movies are going to be of a second thing. The first thing is driving, doing, and experiencing the trip. If I have someone who's along who can make video of things as we do it, that's great too. And we'll just take what we got, put it all together, and turn it into something half decent. And that's the plan. You have been watching, some of you, the video I did around Lake Erie with my sister last year. That's sort of the same thing. And I could have done a few more videos with that and freshed that one up a little bit, but I kind of know how that works now. And hopefully I'll get a little better. But the main point is that, you know, it's not going to be as fancy, let's say, as some of the pros are. I don't have the equipment for that. But hopefully the stories I have to say over the time will be interesting for people in this wonderful hobby as you go ahead. And between the travel ones I do and the tech ones I do, hopefully you'll find something that's interesting you. So with that, safe travels down the road, and thanks once again for watching my channel, my videos. If you like what I have to say, please give it a like, and or consider subscribing to my channel, Rving with Henry. And like I said, in the next little while, hopefully we'll get some more video material out to everyone. And again, take care. Bye-bye now.